Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I am Falak Zeeb Khan, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with Leaders interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge-sharing community. We have one such industry giant and corporate veteran on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Dr. Rajesh Puneyani. Hello, welcome, Doctor. We are glad to have you here today with us on FaceTime with Leaders.
My pleasure. Good afternoon, Palak, and happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So let me give you a quick brief about Dr. Rajesh Puneyani. He has over 2.5 decades of unparalleled mastery in fostering, nurturing, and elevating value-driven GCC COE capabilities to unprecedented heights of excellence. In his previous role as Senior Director of Technology Operations and IT Service Management for Lowe's India, he has played a pivotal role in transforming and promoting IT service management excellence. He has provided tactical and strategical recommendations based on ITSM key performance measures and taken ownership of site reliability engineering to ensure the availability, performance, security, and reliability of applications. Collaborating closely with engineering, product, and customer experience teams, he has defined roadmaps and visions for SRE, emphasizing application modernization and technology transformation. His notable achievements include the successful transformation of the enterprise service management function, resulting in significant opex savings and achieving a global operational transformation without interrupting services for the customers. Currently, he is the Managing Director, Site Leader, and VP Technology for Kenvue India. So, Dr. Puneyani, by now our viewers must be curious to know about your current roles and responsibilities and some of your greatest contributions. Could you please share some insights in this regard, please?
Sure. Thank you so very much, Palak. First of all, let me obviously give you kudos to what a wonderful introduction you had. I don't know whether I deserve all that, but of course, thank you so very much for such a kind introduction. So Palak, currently for Kenvue India, I am in the process of setting up the Global Capability Center for the global organization. Now, as part of this, setting up the whole legal entity, setting up the whole framework, governance, the whole talent acquisition, and most importantly, of course, building the capabilities of technology, data, digital, process, non-process, or everything perspective, which is part of an overall roadmap for the organization. So that is my most important responsibility. But this cannot be encapsulated in one single statement. So obviously there are a lot of moving parts to this whole puzzle when you build up. So that's my current responsibility. I'm in this role for the last 3+ months formally, and before that I have been working as an interim site leader for about 6-7 months in the second half of 2023. Now, if you talk about the most important achievements, sort of in the last few decades of my career, obviously, I should come back and say that my simplest contribution comes in the area of how do we personalize whatever we deliver to the customers, whether it's a technology customer or it's a end customer shopping in various digital e-commerce websites or shopping into the stores or the physical sort of an area. How do we personalize the services to them, and thinking about delivering services with the customer hat put on, because you can always sit in a plush office location and think about delivering a service, but when you go out in the field and shop like a customer, you understand what kind of challenges the customers may face and what kind of new features, flexibilities, and the new enhancements and experiences that you can contribute only when you go out and personalize yourself as a customer. And the most important element out of that is, of course, put the hat of a human, obviously, when you're delivering services as well. it is very easy for us to commit, to our, parent organizations, or to our, the stakeholders about delivering a great service. But obviously, when you don't consider the human assets who are behind delivering those services, you don't respect and you don't actually invest in them, those services are going to be very short-lived from an overall contribution perspective as well. So, I mean, I'm sure, there are a lot of examples that I can quote, but the most important, obviously, I would say, how do I personalize and how do I continue to invest into the individuals, including the investment in myself from an upskilling, and then of course learning new areas of industry and learning new areas of technology. The way the whole industry is moving forward from a business and technology perspective, you blink an eye, the technology becomes obsolete, and obviously you could be all of a sudden becoming irrelevant as well. So, my greatest contribution comes in the area of how do I make it very personal to the customer, make it very personal to the team who's delivering those services, and again, keeping it true to the organization objectives, to which I'm delivering the services as well. Because in the end, customer pays us, the organizations are investing in us, we need to deliver services back, to the organization and the end customer.
Yes, that's definitely there. So indeed a wonderful experience and a great career journey so far, we must say. So given the multiplicity and complexity of the roles you handled, are there any underlying principles, values, codes, etc. that you live by that help you excel in them?
That's a wonderful segue to something which is very closer to my heart, Palak. So again, two or three very simple keywords that generally come to my mind. And then again, keeping things very simple, as I mentioned a little while ago, is absolutely the key. Whether you are delivering a solution or you're delivering a new center or a GCC or anything that you can call it, keeping it very simple on the ground, of course, that is one principle that I always live by. Which means that the problem could be very complex, but how do you break the complexity of a problem into simple modules, or the simplicity, so that you can go back to the grassroots level and then again try and solve the simple aspects of a problem, and then you bring the solutions of those small little aspects like a jigsaw puzzle, and eventually you will see a beautiful solution coming up as well. Sometimes, or most of the time, what pushes us away from the solution is because we look at the problem, but obviously we look at only the complexity and don't make initial investment in breaking down the problem into simple sort of pieces of the jigsaw puzzle as well. So one principle, keep it absolutely super simple. Now the second most important thing is, again, invest in yourself, invest in individuals, in understanding the individual from a personal side of things and from a professional side of things. That is when you can say you are bringing the the great professional to workplace. Only when that professional goes back home as a very happy personal, the next day the very happy professional will come back back to the work and deliver more than 100% to you on towards your mission as well. So again, personalizing it to the individuals absolutely is my value. Third most important thing is keep thinking about the customer, because we just cannot generate solutions, or we cannot set up centers or big organizations keeping what we want to deliver. But in the end, people who are consuming the services, whether they are internal teams, whether they are the external customers, if they don't find a value in what you're delivering, then that value has no meaning at all. So always keep thinking through the lens of who your customers are and what those customers want to perform their job effectively as well. So that is the third principle. And fourth, always continue to be courageous in terms of the decisions that you take. Always be very bold in terms of, and use your experience, use your sort of an intuition to some extent, and use the data that is available to your end, and then take some courageous, bold decisions to move things forward. We have seen quite many number of times, in the process of decision analysis paralysis, we feel the decision has been delayed. By the time the bus is gone, the train has left the platform, and we lose the opportunity as well. So with whatever best take some sort of courageous decision, take a leap of faith, and then put your best experience from the past and take a decision and move forward in small little baby steps in an agile way. And that is, of course, sort of a message that I give it to everyone that I interact in such forums or individual forums. And finally, celebrate every moment of your, professional or personal achievements, whether at workplace or in your personal life as well. Because in the pursuit to find bigger, celebration moments or bigger happiness moments, we should not lose sight of small little recognition, because whatever could be small recognition for you could be a big one for the person sitting on the other side of the table, whether at home or obviously in your personal professional workspace as well. So these 4 or 5 things are my founding principles, that I keep looking at almost on a daily basis as my commandments, to make sure that I don't lose sight of it. And I continue to talk about that with every new person that I work with as well. And that is what keeps me happy. That is what keeps me glued to the the mission that I'm looking forward to. And that is how I get the loyalty of the people that are generally working for me in my organization.
Definitely, and that's really very commendable indeed, we must say. So, moving ahead, you have been honored with a slew of accolades. Which of them do you cherish the most and why?
Yeah, so very difficult to choose, of course. Palak, it's like choosing, well, you have, more than one kid, of course, who is the most loving and more daring kid, of course, right? But I'll try and answer in a different context here for sure. So yeah, first of all, I really feel very blessed and, sort of full of gratitude that, I have been honored with a few accolades, of course. But I think, each one of them in their own context is absolutely super critical, super, important, because they came at certain aspects in my professional life, and I was doing certain things in those phases of journey as well. But if I have to really see which one actually was honored for not only the current work that I'm doing, but obviously the future potential, is the latest one which came in the month of August, which was the Future 100 CIOs of India. That came in because it was a very rigorous process that my peers and my supervisors had to give a feedback for him. My past credentials were scrutinized by the jury, and there were like personalized interviews done by more than one industry expert and veteran. And then eventually, after consolidating the data out of 1,000, more than 1,500 nominations, 100 people were chosen, and we were all felicitated in Agra, last year in August as well. So that is something which I cherish. But having said that, like I said, each one of them gives me a great sense of feeling, because they all were, sort of finalized with a similar sort of an approach. But yeah, the last one, obviously, I would rate the highest, because of it not only recognizes the contribution in the past, but it also recognizes the future potential and where exactly I could be headed, if I keep moving forward on the same path.
So, you wish to widen your professional purview into the fields of ESG and corporate governance. Are they just other facets of business you want to explore? If not, then why?
Sure. No, one wonderful and very burning, perspective here, Palak. So, being a technologist and being in the IT industry for a while, obviously more than 27, 28 years now, I think the way things are moving, and the focus is on fields like corporate governance, with some use cases which are not probably very ideal, and have shaken the faith of individuals in those use cases across the globe. And how sustainability and ESG as a whole concept is obviously gaining importance. And this is not something which is of a choice anymore. I think if we have to be a very successful leader in delivering what we deliver, number one, but in delivering it in a more sort of a society conscious way, I think this is something which is drawing me very close to ESG as a concept, and obviously corporate governance, because using these things, obviously you drive a lot of accountability, you drive a lot of transparency, honesty, when you go through a very ideal corporate governance setup, and then you actually stay on the right side of the law, as we can always say that. So this corporate governance is something which actually is very close to me, from an overall principle that I just mentioned. But from an ESG point of view, also, we are delivering what we are delivering, but are we delivering in the best possible way, that the planet Earth, expects us from an overall environment perspective, from a governance and from a overall society perspective, and what is our contribution back to the society? Because we exist again because of our wider set of people. Of course, are we investing it back in the underprivileged society? Are we investing it back in people who are not that blessed, of course, that we all feel, having, good jobs and good places to work? So I think that kind of a perspective obviously naturally draws the energy from, deep within myself. And then that's the reason, obviously, wherever there is an opportunity for me to not only learn ESG and corporate governance, but obviously contribute also, I generally, raise my hand and then learn and then contribute as well. So it is less of a demand of a business, but I think more of a moral and social responsibility for all of us in various levels of our professional journey, that we should definitely contribute into this. And this is, again, I would say, it's like building a new skill set, so that obviously down the line we can club the digital and technology skills and solve the problems of ESG and corporate governance using the digital tools and technology solutions as well. So it's more of my internal journey that obviously that is drawing me very closer to ESG and corporate governance.
That's totally wonderful indeed. And we wish you all the best in the same.
Thank you. Correct.
So, as an ESG and corporate governance expert, what values do you bring along?
Wow. So yeah, and I would well, I would say that this is something which I'm still, I would call myself a student in this field, because every day that you wake up, you have a new model, new framework, and new sort of new guidelines and new examples which are always emerging in front of you. So I would say that I'm not an expert, very honestly, but again, in the capacity that I'm delivering some of these things, I will definitely quote. So basically, from an ESG and corporate governance point of view, first of all, you need to see how exactly the same stuff which is being done in ESG and corporate governance, you can use your technology skills, you can use your, human, potential, and you can use the technology solutions to actually make these things even more self-driven and sustainable. See, I'll give one example. Let's say you are driving an ESG, sort of a sustainability agenda for your organization. But in order to drive that sustainability, you sort of create another non-sustainable solution within the organization. Then that sustainability and non-sustainable solution actually negates the impact of each other. So in terms of, let's say, I'll give an example of, without quoting the names, the building that we are operating in from my office perspective in the previous slides, right? How sustainable, water resources or power resources, energy resources are in terms of, recycling it, reusing it, and then of course making sure that we are complying with the best of ESG guidelines and stuff of that nature. And in case we are using more but obviously contributing less in some other ways, we are using more power but cutting more trees in, obviously as part of using those resources. I think this is where the challenge happens, because you are creating sustainability, but actually you are taking sustainability from some other aspect of your life as well. So, obviously one conscious agenda is what we are trying to do. For example, paper, very elementary example I will give. But if we are always looking forward to, tissues and paper tissues in the organizations and all, you need to understand where exactly that is coming from. So even though that is mandatory for the people to use it, but where exactly you can contribute back in the form of, planting more trees and plants, in the ecosystem around you, so that whatever you take, whatever you consume, you can give it back in the society as well. So one area is obviously how do you balance the cost of driving sustainability by driving on non-sustainability somewhere else. And second thing is, most importantly, obviously from a corporate governance perspective, the expertise I would say is, again, there are a lot of dynamics within the corporate governance from an overall day-to-day interaction, strategic direction, and tactical direction. How exactly we can continue to be very transparent with our stakeholders, whether they are in the industry, whether they are within the organization. And again, this goes back to my 4 or 5 principles about, how do we personalize this? How do we make sure that we stay rooted to the organization guidelines and the objectives, and then again, still drive the transparency, honesty, and personalization of everything we drive. And I think rest everything falls in place as well. And this is the reason, obviously, I'm going through this whole sort of a journey with Directors Institute, to make sure that obviously I learn some of the finer arts by the industry experts, and through the formal sort of the course and curriculum that I'm going with Directors Institute, so that I can implement more, I can learn more, and I can not only just restrict it to my organization, I can take it to the wider audience and the wider community as well.
Definitely, that's definitely there. So, as having worked in the technology facet, have you ever thought of leveraging IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, cloud, digital twin, big data, and Web 3.0 in your field?
Wow, wonderful. So no, absolutely. So first of all, Falak, very good question. But obviously, breathing and living technology day in, day out. Some of these concepts of IoTs and AI, ML, blockchain. I don't think this is sort of a choice for any leader these days. To be using or not using this. This naturally has to be used. And again, coming from a very technology background for the last 2.5 or more decades, this naturally is part of my portfolio. The global technology operations or service management or the other work that I have driven, directly or indirectly, these fields have been used as well. And again, I am drawing great deal of success in, I should attribute it to some of these concepts as well. For example, AI, ML, cloud, obviously it is not, sort of a luxury anymore for the organization. This is the commodity, and obviously people have to use it. Big data, data science, absolutely is important for us to stay ahead in the curve in terms of what we can use that data and then drive the solutions for the future based on what customers would be asking even before they start asking. So obviously this is, sort of, I would say, my daily bread and butter in using some of these technologies on a given day. Again, different days, different tools, different technology sets. I think that is what obviously the beauty of the this role or any role is, that there is no same day when you wake up. Obviously, you're either talking about ML on a given day, you're talking about IoT on a given day, and then some of the factors like cloud and big data are common, sort of underlying shared platforms on which some of these tools work as. So, and these things are evolving, Palak, so much on a daily basis that it is very difficult to keep pace with the latest trends, unless, of course, you dedicate some time for yourself and keep learning and keep upgrading yourself. And that is what essentially I do. And this is what essentially I tell, the teams that I interact with, upskilling, like I mentioned, investment in individuals, that is important. So I'm working on this, but I think I would still say the way things are changing, I'm still a student in some of those technology platforms.
Yes, that's definitely there. So we are building a community of industry magnets. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. So what are your thoughts about this initiative taken about by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Heval Mehta, and the whole World Development Corporation team?
Oh, fantastic. Absolutely. You saved the best for the last, as always. No, so like I mentioned, Falak, obviously all of us are so much sort of involved in solving problems, for our organizations or our parent companies, for our customers. A lot of times we lose focus on in terms of what the rest of the industry peers are doing in the same domain or a different domain, right? Now, the biggest way that we can obviously save some effort is not to reinvent the same wheel again, because somebody may have already solved that problem using some of the other principles or technologies and platforms. So one thing which obviously is always very clear to me from a learning point of view is how do we share the best practices across the industry, across the verticals, across the platforms. And that's the reason when I obviously saw the whole knowledge sharing community being put in place with a lot of corporate giants and industry experts, sort of contributing into this. And again, like I said, I'm a student of some of those fields as well. So it actually fascinated and excited and created so much of enthusiasm in my side that I absolutely did not even think twice, and I enrolled for being part of that as well. So absolutely, I love this whole platform. I love this whole initiative because I don't want to take years to solve a problem which somebody may have already solved or somebody may have already been in the process of solving as well. So why not synergize, join hands and make 1+1 not as 2 but obviously 11, so that we can solve problems faster for future, and then we can start to make more bigger sort of impact in our industry from an ESG, corporate governance, or the various transformations which are happening as well. So I would absolutely be very excited to stay connected, as long as, of course, I'm like passionate about this, absolutely. And I love this, and I definitely feel this is something which should continue forever, because new leaders, new people entering into the industry, they should not be deprived of such kind of initiatives, learning from the leaders, learning from the people who have done that. So absolutely hats off to Mr. Pathan and Mr. Mehta for and the whole team, obviously, for taking this initiative and then helping people like me from an industry to learn and then contribute back in the society.
Definitely. So these have been really very kind words by you, we must say. So it was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will inspire future leaders. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Rajesh Puneyani. We wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute unquestionably has expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds. And all the wonderful different teachings and principles that you've shared with us that you follow, I'm sure like everyone watching this, it is going to help them and grow in their careers as well. So thank you so much once again for being with us today on FaceTime with Leaders, and we wish you have a great day.
Thank you so much, Falak. Thank you for the opportunity, and wishing everyone a wonderful day, and to yourself as well, happy
Thank
rest
you.
of the day, of course.